Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Sujit Patra Ekdam Real Estates. So we have discussed many of the subjects and about important matters on real estates. So on this current video, we will touch upon a important aspect, that is a sale agreement. The sale agreement is a very important subject in the entire whole transactions, because this entire thing depends upon the sale agreement, and the terms and conditions has to be dealt with properly, and it has to be captured thoroughly in the sale agreements. The sale agreement, it is important for the developer or the builder as well as for the purchaser side also. So both the sides has to be very cautious and has to take lot of precautions while doing and executing the sale agreement. So basically, what is a sale agreement? So it is a binding agreement between the seller. In this case, in the particular in the real estate transaction, the seller is obviously the developer or the builder, and the purchaser is the flat buyers or the unit buyers, you can say, or the unit purchaser. So it is an agreement between the buyers and sellers. In our real estate industry, it is builder as well as the flat buyers. So this sale agreement binds all the terms and conditions to the both the parties. So what are the essentials of a sale agreement? So generally this sale agreements covers many of the important points, like basic information like the area of the flat, the amount, total sale consideration amount, and when to be paid, the amount as well as the carpet area. Now as per RERA, it has to be definitely and must to be incorporate the carpet area in the sale agreement. Earlier the developer, they were mentioning the sellable area or the built up area, but now after RERA it is a mandatory to mention the carpet area. That means whatever the flat buyers will get, that has to be mentioned in the sale agreement. And the time of payment, the schedule of payment. In the RERA, there is a schedule of payment. So the developers or the builders has to adhere to the RERA norms. In the RERA, actually, it is clearly mentions what are the terms and conditions to be covered in the sale agreements, and what are the time, on what stages the sale agreement or the payment to be made, because the flat depends upon the constructions of the project. So if you are purchasing a flat on the 10th floor of a particular project, but the 10th floor has not yet reached, but you have to make the payment. So the builder, they will definitely demand the payment. So for every stages, that means at the execution of the sale agreement, then after plinth level, then after roof casting of each level or at a certain level, the builder will go on demanding the payments. So that period of payment or the stage of construction, at what stage the developer will ask the payment, that also has to be captured in the sale agreement. And what are the amenities the builder is giving, what are the with specification also, like electrical fittings or the pipe fittings, and the doors and windows, what are the door frame, what will the specification. It may be with the brand also, the developer has to mention. Suppose there is no sale agreement, then what will happen? Then definitely both the party will not honor to each other. So to binding to both the parties, that means the developer or the builder and the flat buyers, the execution or the entry of sale agreement is a must between both the parties. In the court of law, the sale agreement only stands. Without oral does not have any place in the court of law. So the written sale agreement has to be in place. And the What are the terms to be covered? There will be a buyer, one seller, and the time of payment. If you have made any advance payment also, that has to be captured also, and the mode of payment also. Suppose if you have paid by check or by cash or by RTGS payment or online payment, so that has to be mentioned specifically. So the builder has to mention, suppose you have paid 50,000 by check, so he has to mention check of so and so bank and dated and received 50,000. So like this he has to mention what are the amount has been received by him. And under Registration Act, under RERA Act also, under RERA section 13(1), the sale agreement, if the developer or the builder has received more than 10% of the total sale consideration, that has to be registered also. Suppose the flat cost is 1 crores and you have made payment of 15 lakhs out of 1 crore. So that means you have paid 15% of the total sale consideration. So in this case, the builder has to register the sale agreement. In the sale agreement, it incurs a stamp duty as well as the registration charges. That registration charges and stamp duty varies from state to state, but it is always safer on the side of the flat buyers to make it registered. And to make any sorts of complaints under RERA in future also, the sale agreement has to be registered compulsorily. If you have made 10%, if you have made less than 10% of the unit sale consideration, then it need not be registered. But if you have made more than 10%, then it has to be compulsorily registered. But you might have heard also, there is one term, this sale agreement, and other one is sale deed. So what is the difference between these two? The sale agreement, it is a binding terms and conditions between both the parties, but sale deed, it gives you the ownership about the flat. So suppose if you have paid the registration charges and stamp duty in the sale agreement, so that stamp duty will be adjusted while executing the sale deed. Generally the sale deed done at the end of the transaction or while the flat is completed. So the initial transaction is the document is the sale agreement, but subsequent at the final stage it is the sale agreement. While doing the sale agreement or while executing the sale agreement, what are the documents required? So you have to see the prior sale deed, prior ownership, whether the developer had got the ownership over that flat or not in that particular project, and whether the flat project has been sanctioned by the municipality or not, that also to be captured in the sale agreement. And what other documents are required? The PAN card and Aadhaar of both the developer side as well as the flat buyer side. So these are the basic documents required in the sale agreement. How to register a sale agreement? So you have to engage an advocate. There are many states where the sale agreement is getting online registered, but there are certain states where it is not online, facility is not there. So you have to do offline. So when you will engage one advocate also, so they will go through the draft of the sale agreement, whether it is as per compliant with the RERA norms or not. Then once it is complied as per RERA norms, then the advocate will submit the agreement, draft sale agreement, to the sub-registrar office for registration. Then the sub-registrar will they will go through the draft sale agreement and they will give a date for registration. On that date you have to be present before the sub-registrar office for registration. It is a very simple process and it is a very common thing also. But the major important factor is the TDS. The TDS also affects the sale agreement. When the transaction is more than 50 lakhs, then TDS attracts 1%. That means here in this case 1% TDS is applicable, but here the buyer has to deduct 1% on the sale consideration amount. So if it is more than 50 lakhs, the buyer has to deduct 1% TDS. Whenever he is making, suppose he is making part payment, so on the part payment also he has to deduct TDS of 10%. So this is a very important document, because this is the agreement or the document at the beginning between both the parties. So for any subsequent litigation or complaint against RERA, this sale agreement has to be properly drafted, properly documented, properly executed. There should not be any incomplete in the sale agreement. So it is a very important document, and we have to be very careful while executing the sale agreement. So hope you have liked my video on about the sale agreement, and hope you will make some precautions while executing the sale agreement. And if you have liked my video, please like, share and subscribe my video. Thank you.